All right, clones, welcome back to a new video. Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more on the investing side of things. I had someone who asked me to recently do a video on talking a little bit more about options, investing, how it interacts or how it intertwines with cardboard collecting, could be sports card collecting too, but obviously we're going to be talking about these guys right here. So one thing I'd like to kind of base level talk about very quickly is that a huge piece of the stock market trading is options trading. You might be asking, all right, what, never even heard of that. Heard of a stock, obviously, but never an option. Okay, so very simply, 30,000 foot view. If you are wondering what an option is, it's a derivative of, it's basically a derivative of a stock. It's like trading a leveraged ETF. So if you look at, if you're trading Amazon, let's say Amazon's around 200 bucks per share, and you think in that given week, the stock is gonna go to $210. All right, so you might think about buying a $205 option call. So there's calls and there's puts. I don't want to get into the weeds, but if you think it's going to go up, you'd buy a call. If you think the stock is going to go down, you would buy a put. So if you think that the stock is going to go to 210 and you want to get somewhere in the middle, you might get a 205 call, and you would want to see where the premium was at the beginning of the week. If you think that you could end up making more than $5 over the premium given, then it would be smart to buy that call. And ultimately you would likely buy maybe 3 or 4 of those call options, whereas you might not be able to afford 4 or 5 shares of $200 per share. Of course, this is all dependent on the cost of the option, and that option will move exponentially quicker and faster than the share itself might. So if you think about, let's say that call option cost you $100 to purchase on a Wednesday, and Friday you think it'll be at 210. So if you bought the common stock at $200 and you thought it was going to go to 210, you'd make $10 off of your $200 investment. So you'd be making 5%. I think that's 5%. 1% would be $2. Times 5 is the 10 bucks to get you there. So you get 10% there. But if you get the contract for 100 bucks and it goes to 500 bucks, because that's where you'd be if you had a 205 and a 210. 210 minus 205, $5. So that's $500. So if you got 3 or 4 of those, you make $500 per share, you make $1,500. So there is value in trading options if you have a belief that the underlying stock is going to get to a certain price point. All right, that's very generalized. That was a 3-minute rant. Here is how it applies to Pokemon trading. Okay, so what we saw really towards the beginning of January with something like the Scarlet and Violet based Drowsy card. I think that's the illustration rare. I don't think it's an SIR. Sorry if that's incorrect, but it moved magnitudes quicker than the actual price of the rest of the set. Now, there are different opinions on why that may have happened. Some folks thought, a buyer group came in, bought out the card, and kind of forced it higher as the popularity of Pokemon overall also started to catch fire a little bit. They go in and they buy certain cards before the rest of the general market can do that, which is the same as the stock market. Some big institution will go in and they'll buy 1,000 option contracts, and then the little guys will trickle in and they'll buy 100 here, 20 there, 10 here. Maybe a few people will only buy, maybe a bunch of people will only buy 1 or 2. And so the crowd chases the momentum. You see that also in cardboard. It's the same in everything, right? You're chasing momentum. It is a trading strategy. It is a successful and workable trading strategy. If you went in and you said, you know what, this Drowsy card's gone from 10 to 20 bucks, I'm gonna buy 50 of them and have $1,000 investment. I'm gonna have 50 cards at 20 bucks each. And then you saw what happened to Drowsy. It goes I think it went to 60, maybe even 70, 80 bucks. Okay, now you've made 300% off your $20 investment. If it goes to 60, 70 bucks, you're in that 300 and 350% return range. Instead of $1,000, you're walking away with $3,000, $3,500, somewhere in that range. So it is the same exact thing in cardboard investing as it is in stock investing. And it is a proven and workable strategy. This is not a fugazi. Some people might say, who would do that? Who would buy 1,000? Guys, you can sell 50 cards so easily, so easily. There are so many mediums to do it. eBay, card shows, TCG Player, Facebook groups, Discord groups. You can move out of 50 cards very, very easily, especially when you have one that's liquid and people are currently wanting that. So when people say, you know, how can you get some advantage in, you know, cardboard investing, that is one way to do it, is going to be chasing momentum of hot singles. Okay, so Drowsy, Scarlet Violet base. There are a dozen different types of examples that all follow this same kind of pattern. What was another concept that I was asked to talk about? So this one is about popularity of Pokemon and long-term value versus hype markets like the Drowsy pump and dump. All right, I'm not here to crap on Drowsy or shit on his flow or anything like that, but I don't think he's one of the most popular 151 Pokemon from the original 151, all right? So when you think about big sets that have, the hit card is one of the more popular Pokemon, we're thinking Fusion Strike, the Gengar VMAX, SIR, all right, we're thinking Evolving Skies. Obviously you have the beautiful Evolutions, and then that Dragonite. Dragonite's obviously a huge favorite. You know, the list goes on and on. Currently, I would say what we're looking at in Scarlet and Violet is going to be Prismatic Evolutions. You have, again, all the Evolutions are extremely hot still from the hype that they got from Sword and Shield. And if you want to ride that wave, I would say that is where you're going to have your safer bets on singles and buying in on sealed product. Then you are gonna be chasing that momentum, right? So if you're looking for a safe haven, when we think stocks, we think blue chips, Apple, Amazon. That 7 is what you would think, right? If you were just gonna have a nice safety net, if you wanted to be extremely safe, you could say, I'm just gonna buy the S&P 500. When you put it in Pokemon terms, we're thinking more of things like, I'm gonna buy Evolving Skies, Prismatic Evolutions, 151. I would even make the argument around Brilliant Stars. I think that is an extremely slept on set with a lot of safe investments there as well. You know, as I go through Pokedata.io, which obviously I have no sponsorship there. I just think it's a great app. You know, you think Lost Origin, the Giratina, again, Brilliant Stars, you have that really cool Charizard, the Umbreon VMAX with the City Kitty kind of style. You know, you have safer plays because you have more popular Pokemon and they are the hit within the set. They aren't just a common card that appears over and over. They are the actual illustration rares and the special illustration rares. And then when you think stocks, you might think a Palantir as kind of a hype-driven stock. It goes from 70 to 150, and then it comes back down. You think of that, when you think Pokemon, you think Drowsy, it goes from 20 to 70, comes back down to 30. You know, it's all psychology. It's all a human mindset thing. There's no magic fairy dust that makes this the way that it is. It's just human psychology every stock chart that you look at looks like pretty much every TCG player chart that you would look at for a Pokemon card or even a single sealed product. I currently, as you can see in the background, am going after most of the booster boxes from Scarlet and Violet. I think they're still good prices right now. Might they go back to 120, 130, 140? And that's kind of $20 to $40 under MSRP range. After things cool off, they very well might. You would dollar cost average your average back down. If you're buying boxes right now for $200, you can continue buying boxes for 110, 120, 130, and just your average will go back towards MSRP. And then when everybody loves MSRP-ness again, because that's the big phrase, oh my God, I have to have MSRP-ness. Guys, MSRP's made up. I made a short about it recently. It's a manufacturer's suggested retail price. That does not mean that everything that you purchase has to be at MSRP. Some things are good buys at market. I was showing my wife this yesterday actually, because she was curious, you know, what all the hype is and how it all makes sense that people actually buy really expensive products. You would have maybe told somebody 6-7 months ago that they were crazy for buying Evolving Skies booster boxes for $400 to $430. It's kind of where it was fluctuating. It's $2,000. Today is, I think, June 9th. 2 days ago on eBay, there was a confirmed best offered OBO purchase for a booster box of 2K. Last night, I checked, there was an auction with 22 hours still to go. It had 21 bids and it was $1,750. So yes, the prices are real. The price movements are real. You know, you can make a ton of money by investing even at higher than MSRP. If you bought at 400 and it's at 2K now, that is a 400% gain. Guys, don't get it twisted. It is a 5x gain. It is not a 500% return. Whatever your X is, so if it's 5x, it's 400%. If it was 4x, it would be 300%. I can break that down in another video very simply, or even a YouTube short if you were interested in hearing about that. But guys, I don't want this to go long. We're at 13 minutes. I did want to come on and quickly talk about that. Let's see. I think, you know, this was one that got brought up. You know, the concepts of having cards that are vintage with things like swirls in their hollow pattern, and what that does for the card, what that means for the card. I think that's something that might be a little bit slept on. I think error cards are something that might be a little bit slept on. Some folks are out there. You have your niche market investors who are looking for banned cards, error cards, rare promos that maybe come out of just a Japanese or a Chinese set, right? So there are all kinds of little pockets within the Pokemon TCG space that you can find some investing edge. And I think they're all over the place. There's always going to be a buyer for a certain specific niche. Some of them more simply are just full sets, right? Sometimes people are saying, I'm only looking for a full set. If you have a full set of whatever it might be, could be like CD promos from Japan, could be a master set of an entire Pokemon, you know, set release. You know, if you have a full binder completed, yeah, some people are looking for things like that, right? So there's always little areas of edge for investing, and you just have to look and see where those might be, and you will find them. If you are interested in me doing a video exclusively dedicated to talking about where you might be able to find edge, leave me a comment down below. I'm happy to go into a little bit more of a tangent on that. I would say the last thing that I might want to talk about is looking for edge with cards, vintage cards that are raw, that you think, if I can get this in a PSA 9 with a new certification, what they call a milli-cert, this is one that has 9 digits in the certification rather than the old ones that have 8. If you think that you have a really nice card Grading is still a huge opportunity. Go on eBay or whatever, you could even use the Alt app, A-L-T, Alt, and look at old certifications for PSA 8s or 9s, even 10s, for Pokemon cards that are vintage, and then look at the new certs. Look at the back of the card. That's where you're gonna see the most of the difference. The front of the cards are typically pretty clean. There won't be any lifting on there shouldn't be any lifting on 8, 9s, or 10s, there shouldn't be any scratching on hollow foil either. However, on the back of the card is where you can find your edge. If there's whitening that goes along the borders of the card, right? So if there's whitening on the borders, if there's whitening on the corners, if it is not centered as well, that is where you're gonna be able to get the biggest difference. So grading vintage still has a lot of edge. Look at the price difference between a PSA 10 with a new cert. You have to use the same exact card, of course, but look at the difference between a new cert, so 9 digits on a PSA 10, and an old cert with the 8 digits on a PSA 10. The price differences are usually 15 to 20% more on the new certs because they got more stringent on their grading policies. It used to be centering was 60-40 split, left to right or top to bottom. It's now 55-45, and the corners and the edges need to be a lot cleaner. So you'll see it, the PSA 10s with the new certs are flawless. They might have one speck of white on a corner, whereas the old ones, they let them get away with a little bit more. All right, so that is one area of edge that you could look for if you're looking for grading plays. Those are absolutely still out there. Look for high quality vintage raw. Could be WotC, mid-era. I mean, hell, even Sun and Moon is starting to be, it's not vintage, but it's not ultra modern. There are still grading plays there too, guys. I'm telling you, people will pay more. I have seen it. The data is out there. It's on eBay. I've seen it at card shows. I was just at the Xenia card show in Ohio. Very large card show. Card Collector 2 goes to that one. If you all don't know him, Ryan in Columbus, he's awesome. It's real, guys. You can see it, you can search it, you can find it. I'm not making it up. The data's out there that supports it. Guys, I'm Drewski's Cards. This has been a quick Sunday video breakdown on little advantages that you can find in plays in the market. If you want any more like this, let me know. Otherwise, maybe next video we'll do something looking more at cards again, or a pack opening. Thank you guys so much for listening, tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe. That helps me out a ton. I'm just trying to grow very slowly, and nice and steadily. So if you like what you see, leave me some feedback, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.